Michele,
Hi.
AI hype.
A lot of it, right?
Are you the victim of it or are you the beneficiary of it?
Let's say beneficiary, most of all. It's great to have the spotlight on you. It helps us to have everyone know what we're doing. I want everyone to understand what coding is. At the same time, it puts the bar very high in terms of expectations. I wish we found a middle ground.
In the past session, Jim asked Matthew, what are we doing about the internet's dead, was the presumption of the question. I was surprised by that. I wouldn't have thought, the internet isn't dead, but the point was bots. And now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder, in a couple years from now, are we going to come up on stage and someone's going to ask the question, is AI dead? Because it's sort of learning from its own drivel, its own output. Is there a risk that we might be talking about the AI is dead in a couple years?
I always heard these arguments of a certain technology is dead, and then in reality what happens is we find new ways to apply it, we find new ways to evolve it, and I don't think that's going to be the case. Sure, there is a time where a lot of the data is going to run out. I think we already use all the training data available on the internet, but we're also figuring out ways to use synthetic data to make models better. And at the same time, what we do at Rapid, we create a coding agent. We learn a lot from the ways in which our users are using Rapid Agent.
OK, so let's go there. And the session is indeed not about AI living or dying, but about vibe coding. I'm sure everyone has an idea of what vibe coding is, but I'm sure it's a different idea. So let's start with the atomic unit of what is vibe coding?
Vibe coding is a technology that allows everyone to create software without taking even a look at the code that is being generated. So it forces you to have a high-level systems view of what you're creating, and it doesn't force you to have a coding background. That's why it's revolutionary. We're putting this technology in the hands of everyone.
So I don't have a computing background. If I was to do vibe coding, what would I actually be doing?
Anything that makes your life more efficient. I'm sure you have to keep track of all the different people you're meeting at this conference. You can create your CRM. You can create something that helps you with your business. Anything, any idea that you have in mind that you were not able to create, now it's there for you to create.
How would I prompt it? Would I prompt it like an LLM? Can you give me an example? If you were to help me with that, what would you say?
The experience is very similar to the chatbots that I'm sure you have been using in the last few years. And I mean, to be honest, I think that's one of the limitations of vibe coding today. We haven't figured out yet what is the best possible user experience. We haven't figured out how to explain to the users what this technology can and cannot do.
OK, let me actually ask the audience. For myself, I'm not 100% convinced that I could actually do vibe coding, but maybe I'd be wrong if I tried.
Try.
I should totally try, yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So the question is to the audience, who here thinks yeah, vibe coding, I could do it? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's like 46.2%. Who says, I'm going to have a don't know as well, but who says, no way, can't do it, not going to happen with me, raise your hand. There's 6 brave souls. OK, that's enough.
We're going to change their mind by the end of our chat, right?
Totally.
That's my goal.
And who here doesn't know? Raise your hand. Yeah, a couple don't knows as well, but most people are saying yes. Sample bias, it is a tech conference.
True.
Okay. With LLMs, what we're seeing is that it's supporting people who are good writers become great writers, and for people who aren't, they're not getting the most out of it. Are you seeing the same trends in terms of developers using vibe coding, that it's the people who already come with skills that are getting the most out of it?
Yeah, there are 2 categories of people using vibe coding tools today. One is coming from a software engineering background. They are already proficient. This is adding superpowers to their daily routine. But the category that I'm most excited about are the knowledge workers. Everyone who has a job in a company, they don't have a coding background, but they need to create tools for their daily routines. They use these tools in radically different ways today. And it's not surprising that developers are more proficient in using vibe coding today. They know exactly what to ask. So the communication interface between the human and the tool is as efficient as possible. I think it's our goal as a company to make sure that even the knowledge workers become as proficient as possible using vibe coding. That is the challenge, not even for the next year. I think it's the challenge for the next decade. We unleashed the power of vibe coding in the last 12 months. The journey ahead of us is how do you make sure that we put it in everyone's hands and their experience is positive throughout a very long project, not just at the very beginning. We give a lot of aha moments for all of our users. We can create an amazing initial application in 10 minutes. The bigger projects are where we still have a ceiling. And it's the nature of the technology, but I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen in the next few years.
Can you give an example of someone or an industry or an executive who's used it to do something that either they couldn't do before or to accelerate what they wanted to do?
As an executive, those of you who are here, I'm sure you have been in meetings where you try to explain the idea that was in your mind that had been brewing for a lot of time, and words are a lossy communication channel. You always explain something that is fairly ambiguous. Maybe you go to the whiteboard, you try to draw a wireframe. It's much better if you can put a prototype in front of your engineers, in front of the other executives. That's exactly what we're seeing people doing today. We have a mobile app for Replit. For those of you who haven't done any vibe coding, go ahead, download it now, give it a try. By the end of our chat, you're going to build already a prototype. That's exactly what we see them doing. They shop at a meeting, they put the phone there, and now people know exactly what to build.
Okay, so in American industry, when software developers first created the word processor, it was a revolution. When they created the Excel spreadsheet, it was another revolution. But the interesting thing was the spreadsheet, which used to be used for accountants, now slipped into all business people. And today it's just all people who work, who are white-collar knowledge workers. That was a monumental shift that we're not actually even cognizant of, that mathematics that was at one point a century ago for specialists became now throughout global business, and it was an accelerant to the performance of business. What do you think of the impact of vibe coding throughout the economy?
First of all, I think we haven't realized how Excel evolved over the years because it took 40 years. Literally, from when the spreadsheet interface was invented, even a bit longer than that, to being adopted by more than 1.5 billion people, it was a very slow process. I think what's going to happen with vibe coding is the adoption life cycle will be much shorter. I think we're talking about maybe 5 years from today, every single company not only will adopt these tools, but you will see impact across every business department.
What skills are needed?
What skills are needed?
Skills are needed, yeah.
It's almost a brand new skill, to be honest. And as I was mentioning before, the definition of vibe coding, you need to keep a high-level system overview of what you're trying to create. That is something that doesn't come spontaneous to a lot of people who have not been software engineers. But the moment we unlock that understanding, then immediately they almost get addicted to the product, and then they want to build things that are more and more ambitious over time.
So when you say the words more and more ambitious over time, that sounds to me like a lot of developers I know, and I know a lot of organizations are struggling under technical debt. You can see where this is going. Are we sitting on a time bomb of technical debt whereby we have all this vibe coding code and programs in our organizations that no human has built, so no human understands, yet we have to maintain it, or it's actually going to create risk throughout the organization?
So first of all, the unfortunate truth is that there is a lot of code out there of medium or low quality that no one is maintaining. And eventually, the knowledge of what it does and how to maintain it gets lost over time because the employees are leaving or because no one is prioritizing that piece of software. I think one of the benefits of vibe coding that is still overlooked is the fact that we're going to be able to rewrite a lot of this software for cheap. And even if you throw it away on a regular basis, the fact that you rewrite it means that there is a core set of employees that remember what it does. It's always up to date. It doesn't face the same security issues of something that has been created 20 years ago. So there is this definitely side of the medal. At the same time, there are ways to mitigate the technical debt. And with the last release of Replit Agent 3, which we did in September, we put a lot of emphasis in making that happen. So the idea is if you just build on top of shaky foundations, eventually the castle topples down. There is no way to avoid that. But the way in which we built our agent recently is in a way that reviews every single additional piece of code that you are introducing into your project. It makes it a bit more slower, more expensive. It looks like a more professional tool compared to the alternatives on the market, but it allows people to go much further ahead compared to what they expected.
It's interesting. Yesterday on this stage, Max Tegmark of the Future of Life Institute was talking about the value of AI, and he was referring to not the writing of software, but the writing of verification of the software, just to make sure its integrity was strong. How is the software ecosystem going to look in the future? If you have vibe coding on one side, you've got Max Tegmark's verification software on another. What else do you see?
They're going to be merged together. I was giving a keynote at the AI Track just yesterday, and I explained that there are 3 pillars to create autonomous coding agents. One of them is how smart foundation models are. Another one is verification. Why is verification important? Most of the software created by AI today is incomplete by definition, and it's not even a limitation of the models per se. I expect that to be mitigated over time. It's just the fact that as humans, whatever requirements we express, they are ambiguous. It's hard to understand exactly how much of the application you want to build, how every single button on every single window is going to look like, or how it's going to function. So we created a verifier, again, in Agent 3 to make sure that the agent is capable of not only creating, but also verifying. And we offload that from users, because it's a very tedious job. Like, quality assurance is not something that our users would love to spend a lot of time on. It's brand new technology. Again, very optimistic how much powerful it's going to become in the next few years.
If software is eating the world, and AI is eating the world, is there a risk that we're creating a new vulnerability? Do we need to add something new into the stack, rather than just verification? A software sentinel, something that looks out for old software and says, oh, no, we don't do it this way.
Definitely, there is a need to be more careful about security and safety. We put a lot of effort on that at Rapid today. It's not only about, again, creating the code. It's not only about verifying that the application works correctly. It's also about mitigating security issues and also making sure that if your software has been running for a year, 5 years, 10 years, we can immediately flag to you if there are security issues with the libraries they're using or anti-patterns that you shouldn't be following. That's why having the entire stack running on Rapid allows us to have visibility of the entire system.
Okay. So you're giving individuals superpowers when it comes to coding. Are you creating wealth, or are you simply redistributing that wealth? And dare I ask, redistributing it away from the developer to the platform that is the enabler of the developer, your company, Replit?
I'll be honest with you, I don't even think we're doing an amazing job today at value capturing. And I get a lot of our customers telling us, I spent a few $100s creating an internal tool with Replit, and I replaced a SaaS that was costing me 6 figures. And to be honest, I'm happy with that. I think value capture is something we can figure out in the future. What I care about now is the mission of the company and enabling anyone to create the software that they need. It's mostly about value creation, to be honest. I know that there are a lot of ideas in potential in everyone, things that they always wanted to build, and the only reason why they don't see the light of the day is because they don't have the means to make that happen. They don't have the coding skills required to do so. This has been changing literally in the last 12 months. So I expect way more ideas to be explored. Even those that are not working well, you can iterate much faster to find product market fit. So I expect a lot of abundance happening because of AI, and especially because of vibe coding.
Educators are getting upset about AI because they feel that students who are using, and even professionals that are using LLMs, are actually taking a shortcut. Now, coding is much more structured than is language, and also, as you've pointed out, you can actually verify that it actually works. There's a lot of validity around to it in terms of seeing that it works. It's functional. But as vibe coding becomes more of a thing throughout society and industry, is there a risk that people are not enriching their skill, using it to enrich their skills, but actually bypassing their skills, and their technical ability actually depreciates, doesn't grow?
I think it's exactly the opposite of what you said.
Okay.
And the reason is, when you're using a coding agent, you're put in front of far more complexity in a short amount of time compared to before. I can speak from personal experience. I started to write code when I was literally a kid. It took me many, many years to do like anything remotely more advanced. And the reason was because there was not enough tutorial material online. I didn't even have internet access in Italy. And it took years when now, if you're a new grad or if you're a high school student, you can create a complex web application in one day. And when it doesn't work, when it breaks, it's still on you to figure out what is wrong. Maybe you do it with the support of the agent, but you still have to be curious. You still have to ask the right question. You need to be inquisitive. So it's speed running the career progress for people rather than the other way around.
What's harder, managing machines or managing people?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I think I will be able to tell you in a few years. I manage more people than machines today. I don't think any of us has the experience of managing a lot of agents. That's exactly where we want to go. I think that's what's going to unlock even more productivity compared to today. Next year, you will see a lot of us orchestrating hundreds of agents at the same time. It's still challenging, don't get me wrong. Like, you need to understand how to orchestrate them. I expect maybe machines to be less emotional than humans, and that has pros and cons, by the way. I wish I'm not going to spend my entire time interacting with machines.
The former founder of Neuralink was on stage yesterday.
Sure.
Did you see it? I mean, apparently, we're going to become machines, so we're going to have to manage both.
Yeah, but we're going to manage, both skills at the same time. But it's important also what we're having today. I learn a lot from our users. All the feedback that we get really determines a lot of our technical roadmap.
Great. Let's bring up the lights again. I'm going to ask the audience, what do you think is going to be harder to do in 5 years? Managing humans or managing men, managing machines? I was just going for alliteration. So what's harder? Managing the machines, raise your hand. Okay, not that many, like sub 5%. Managing people, raise your hand.
I think I was right.
So I think we're going to have a difficulty. Now, you've got a background, born in Italy, schooled in Italy, Ireland, Geneva,
Switzerland,
PhD,
yes.
so, exactly, Lausanne, exactly, and then Stanford, your postdoc. What have you learned from about management by being in this multi-international context that applies to the world of AI?
It was great to be in multicultural environments in my life, and the reason is it forces you to have the least amount possible of assumptions. When you make assumptions, when you create especially a coding agent, that my personal goal is to put in the hand of 1 billion people, is that you can't really assume that it's going to be used in a very specific way. You can't assume that the best user experience is something that resonates with me. And I think our challenge for the future is going to be to figure out how do we make coding agents best tailored for different type of professionals.
Michele, this is super interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.